60 years after its establishment, the State of Israel appears to be thriving. The economy is booming. And in Tel Aviv, modern skyscrapers now dwarf the remnants of what, in the early 20th century, was known as the White City. Here, many young Israelis enjoy a hedonistic lifestyle, partying away their nights in clubs more familiar in Europe than the Middle East. But this is just one face of a people divided as never before about both their identity and future.
The real problem of the Israeli society is the fact that it is structured from various communities with various values, with various languages, with various future orientations. This situation really endangers the future of Israel as a unified country.
SHMUEL immigrated to what was then Palestine in 1946, having fled the death camps of Nazi-occupied Poland. After fighting in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, he became a founder of Kibbutz Zilim in the Negev, one of thousands of Jews who embraced the ideals of equality enshrined in the kibbutz.
It was an empty place. What do you see now? It wasn't. But we were young, and we know we have not another land. It is our fatherland. It is what we have. We have to keep it and to work it and to build a new home.
6 decades on, SHMUEL still lives in the community, thankful it has survived. For hundreds of other kibbutzim have closed in recent decades, a result of economic mismanagement and of an increasingly capitalist society for which the notion of communal living and self-sacrifice is anathema. Many of those who fought to establish the state feel alienated by the new values.
I lament these changes, I must say. I don't like it. The motto of my school was, "And thou shalt be humble." And we were told, in the old days, you never said I. We always said we. You were part of a group, part of a community. Today, everything is I and I and I. It's a me generation.
This shift towards capitalist individualism mirrors that in countries across the globe. But it is not only Israel's values that have changed since its establishment, but its demographics. On its foundation, the vast majority of Israelis were Ashkenazim, that is to say, of European descent. But that soon changed. After 1948, Mizrahim, or Oriental Jews from the Middle East, came under increasing pressure to leave their homelands both from the Arab states and from Israel itself. For the Arab countries began to identify their Jewish populations with the hostile new Jewish state. And Israel wished to ensure that Jews outnumbered Arabs within its borders, a cornerstone of Zionism. In 1950, the law of return was passed, granting all Jews from around the world the right to immigrate to Israel. But not all came willingly.
It is said that many of those who were loaded onto buses to the airport cried on the way and sang patriotic Iraqi songs. Biladi ya biladi, my country, oh my country. Nowadays, the history of Iraqi Jewry is being rewritten, as if we were waiting for the redemption with our suitcases packed, waiting to immigrate to Israel.
But that is far from the case. For Middle Eastern Jews had had no role in the creation of Zionism, which was an answer to the experiences of European Jews. Many Mizrahim were alienated by the land they encountered on arriving in Israel, including Iraqi-born SAMI Mikhail, one of Israel's best-known novelists.
I came to a country that had just won a war against 5 offensive armies. It was full of self-confidence, of pride. It viewed any Jew who was not born in Israel as a diaspora Jew, as an inferior Jew. I brought with me the language of the enemy. My mother tongue is Arabic, and I didn't speak Hebrew. I even had the skin color of the enemy, my Middle Eastern skin color.
Just as it had to hundreds of thousands of European newcomers, Israel set about eradicating most traces of the new immigrants' former culture in an attempt to forge a distinctly Israeli identity. Everyone was taught Hebrew, a biblical language that had not been in common use for 2 millennia, and a centuries-old way of life and of peaceful coexistence with others was forgotten.
Very quickly they were brainwashed, and somehow through education it was explained to them that the best way to be an Israeli was to hate Arabs.
Zionism means an incredible belief that you can take people from all over the world and to grind them into one machine and to produce what's called Israel.
But this attempt at cultural homogenization, so successful for many years, is now under threat. In 1991, the USSR collapsed. And since then, nearly 1 million Jews have emigrated from the countries of the former Soviet Union to Israel. But unlike immigrants of past generations, most continue to maintain their Russian identity, often living together in enclaves like this in the city of Ashdod.
We have our own communal schools, kindergarten, theaters, radio and TV station, dozens of newspapers, hundreds of books are published here in Israel in Russian. A new immigrant rarely can live in Israel without studying Hebrew at all, because everything he needs or she needs could be done here in Russian.
Dima Bullet emigrated from Belarus in 1999, having been approached by the Jewish Agency, the Israeli government organization responsible for encouraging immigration.
Milk and honey, that was the style of the Jewish Agency. They said this was a small country for Jews, where everything is wonderful and beautiful. But wars, the Arab-Israeli conflict, these things were not mentioned at all.
But Dima has not been disappointed. He came to make a better life for himself, not for religious motivations. And in this respect, he's typical of many new arrivals.
Nowadays, less than half of immigrants are Jews, and more than the half are of some kind of exotic Jewish origin, and they are motivated almost exclusively by the economic reason.
But the ambiguous Judaism of many of the new immigrants does not worry the Israeli authorities, despite this being an avowedly Jewish state.
I think that the Russian Jewish immigration was the best gift Israeli society could just dream to receive, because 1 million of non-Arabs and non-ultra-Orthodox Jews contributed a lot both to its military and its economy and its culture.
But others see this gift as at best a mixed blessing, endangering the country's cohesion.
There is a true cultural war within Israeli society, and I think that historically Zionism as an ideology is bound to erode.